scaling with purpose, resilience, and vision. Let's begin this journey with a few words from the visionary partners who have made this gathering possible. First, we invite the team from BeyondSeed to share their opening thoughts. As champions of early stage innovation and cross-border growth, BeyondSeed continues to empower founders to think big and build bold. Please welcome team from BeyondSeed, Millie Shah. She is here. Over to you, Millie.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to introduce BeyondSeed, a platform built to empower founders and investors across Asia. Our ecosystem spans across Singapore, Dubai, and India, connecting investors, mentors, and founders across borders. We focus on the crucial seed to pre-series A stage where most startups struggle and bring out not only just funding but also active mentoring to bridge the gap between the idea to growth. We are proud to collaborate with ICAI Singapore for the Next Leap program and extend our gratitude to ICAI India, ICAI SME ecosystem for supporting the shared vision to connect financial expertise with entrepreneurial ambition. While we are working closely with Next Leap startups, Next Leap startups, we would love to connect with any one of you beyond the current cohort who are building interesting startups and anyone who is looking forward to invest or mentor such startups. So I look forward to a very, very engaging session from Mr. Francisco. And I hope all the startups in the cohort leverage on the expertise that are bought, all the knowledge that has been bought by ICAI members. Thank you. Over to you, Ayush.
Thank you, Millie, for your inspiring message. Now we turn to our now we are honored to hear from Institute of Chartered Accountants of India Singapore Chapter. ICAI Singapore Chapter has been pillar of professional excellence and global collaboration. Please welcome CS Sanjay Gatani, Vice Chairperson from ICAI Singapore Chapter, to address the gathering.
Thanks, Ayush, and thank you, Millie. It's my great honor to be a part of this esteemed gathering, which as I speak, I understand there are almost 200, more than this. I guess things are scaling up as I speak, and I see more than 200 participants in this Next Leap journey that we are taking together. It is my honor again to head this organization, the dynamic ICAI Singapore Chapter, which has more than 15 years of its existence and with more than 550 jubilant members. We, as a Singapore chapter, we host a plethora of professional and social events, enriching our esteemed members and also with respect to creating a holistic community together in terms of compliance and ethos. Now we are also pleasure to partner with BeyondSeed, a company which encourages startups. And this year we are getting into this journey of Startup Accelerator program, enriching the participants and enriching startup entrepreneurships. So welcome all participants to be part of this enriching journey along with Francisco, whom we welcome for our first session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjay. Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the committee of MSME has been instrumental in giving us the support for this event. Unfortunately, the members from there, the committee members are traveling. They won't be able to join this session, but in subsequent sessions, we'll definitely have them. Thank you to all the partners for setting up the stage so powerfully. Now it's time to dive into the heart of today's session. Our keynote speaker is someone who embodies the spirit of scale and global ambition. Francisco Ascencion is a seasoned global finance leader with extensive experience in IPO and merger and acquisition, strategic growth and transformation in healthcare and medtech. He played a pivotal role in spin-off and IPO of Kenvue, which is formerly known as Johnson & Johnson Consumer Health, establishing it as a world's largest pure-play consumer health company. With leadership roles across Boston Scientific, Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, his passion for supporting early-stage ventures in healthcare, AI, and sustainable innovation. Francisco brings a powerful combination of corporate transformation and startup mentoring experience. We are excited to have him on board to guide our cohort and founders in scaling with resilience and impact. Please join me in welcoming Francisco Ascencion to share insights on building scalable startups for global growth. Over to you, Francisco.
Yeah, thank you very much for the kind words, Jan and team, and good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Francisco, and I welcome everybody to and acknowledge the ICAI Singapore Chapter and all the sponsor for preparing and co-hosting this session, which is timely, given everything that is happening in the world right now. It's an honor to be here with all of you, with all many passionate entrepreneurs from India, Dubai, Singapore, and wherever you are in the world. These are some of the most important and most dynamic startup ecosystems in the world. Today's session that I have the opportunity to talk to all of you is not about the scaling faster, it's about the scaling smarter. And I hope that the perspectives that I share can help and can bring you some inspiration in how you can scale your companies using startups going forward. I want to emphasize that today's session that I have the pleasure to speak to all of you is about clarity, discipline, but above all, courage to execute and move forward. I would love to share the perspective as a CFO. The CFO that is somebody that is going to be close to most of you, helping you to navigate all the different stages of startup, working with venture capitalists, with investors, with the ecosystem to bring you that scalability possibilities going forward. So next slide, please. And let me start with saying that many years ago, being at the front of a startup, all of us, all of you, you will feel like this. It was very clear to see the ocean, very clear to see where markets opportunities would be, and it was very easy to spotlight where some of the gaps were and where some of the possibilities would be. Being at the front of a startup, some instances will feel like this. You could see at least clearly what would happen, where the market will go, how the full world would move. And it was a little bit more easier to some perspective. If we go to the next, please, if we go to the next slide. Today, being at the front, whether it's a multinational, whether it's a startup, or whether it's a mid company, if we move to the next slide, please, you feel sometimes you are going to feel like this. You're going to feel like you are there, you feel alone sometimes, and you feel like the horizon can be cloudy. The world has changed, and is changing faster than ever. With all these changes, there are a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of challenges. Never before in the time we have important geopolitical changes. We have important systemic shifts in how the world is conducting businesses. We have ecosystems reopening. We have artificial intelligence working at the speed that we never imagined before. We have now the ability of having AI agents, basically conducting some of the parts of your future operations, not only in smaller and medium companies, but also in bigger multinationals. And that brings volatility, that brings instability, that brings sometimes a sense that is not unclear where all this will go. but that is exciting. That brings a lot of excitement. And with all that also bring gaps, as some of the bigger companies are taking longer time to move, and is open spaces for new ecosystems, for new services, and for new companies to capture the opportunity. But let's go next. Let's go to the next slide, because we also need to do a reality check, right? And part of a reality check, right? And I'm not going to say that to discourage, but it's also important that we all see 90% of startups fail, and most don't scale. But why? Failure often comes, right, after product market fit, but it's mostly because of lack of execution. They don't fail because of bad product. They don't fail because there is not a proper market fit. It's all about execution. Scaling is not about running faster. That is something that I would love that all of you keep in mind always. It's not about fast. It's about learning to run with control, right? And I don't say that as a CFO, right? It's running with all that control and, most important, clarity of execution. If you cannot measure it, if you cannot, you are not going to be able to manage it. That is the perspective that I want to bring to all of you. So most of you have many different backgrounds. So I would want to encourage you, and I want to invite you to think like a CFO from day one. Build for profitability, not only build for valuation. And this is an important slide, though. And this will apply in any new startup, new ecosystem, and everything that you're building. Cash is the king, or cash is the queen. It's basically one of the most important resources that you're going to have at your disposal. We're going to be many times up front of venture capitalists. You're going to be at front of future investors, angel investors, ecosystems, and you are going to be tempted to get money, to cash. But think like a CFO, growth with clarity, and also we grow with discipline. Think from day one that you're going to be building a global corporation. Let's go to the next, please. And I want to bring to all of you something that I want to encourage you. Whatever you are, maybe your companies can be small. Your companies are addressing just a gap of a smaller percentage of a population of companies. Every local story starts local. It's a local idea, right? It's a start from a hobby sometimes. You start with a hobby. That hobby has the opportunity to scale. Look at Seroda, that was built on financial discipline, not external funding. Or Carousel in Singapore, that grew through smart regional partnerships to start building the ecosystem. Being global doesn't mean being everywhere. That's a misperception that happens in multiple ecosystems that you're going to hear maybe from time to time. It means to be relevant wherever you are, right? I want to encourage you to all of you to think what I can replicate in another market without losing your essence. Because if you build something, it's because it has an essence. It's addressing something. So think about as you are scaling to a very different market, different customers. Even if you're local, you're growing, you're addressing one sector of the population, but you want to move into another sector of population of companies. It's like, don't lose the essence of what you're building. Is about excellence in a model that can be repeatable every single time. As you start diversifying to many multiple things, then your cost and your ability to scale potentially can get impaired. It's something that I would like to keep all of you and keep it at that level of perspective. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is something that is exciting and applies for many different companies of many different sizes. But this is about the foundation and the fundamentals. Cash, as I explained before, controls. Even if you're a smaller startup of a company, you have to control or establish solid controls from day one. Otherwise, they are going to be hunting you down years or months after you're a startup. And the culture. These are very key differentiators as you're starting to build a new venture. Before you scale, build your backbone, the backbone of who you are in your identity. Cash controls culture. Cash is the discipline. Know that you're going to be burning cash from the start. You're going to be burning, but you have to really clearly understand your economics. What are the economics of the model? What are your boundaries? It's not about raising cash or increasing the valuation. It's about raising a model that can be scalable. And also put your controls early on in terms of your business economics and your runway, how far you can go. And from time to time, I know that it may sound as a burning, but you gotta role play your scenarios. Is your start small, but if you don't put controls from day one, that can be a potential derailer as you are looking in the future. Controls, and I'm not talking about full, very complex and complicated controls as you see it in some of the global mid-sized corporations. Very simple dashboards, right? Very simple dashboards that can give you those antennas of what is going on in your system. What is working so you can scale it fast, what is not working, and what you're burning cash, right? That is going to be very important. You don't need to have very complicated controls and put approvals for many different things because you're going to be impairing your ability to scale. But having a very simple dashboard so you can understand and the founders can understand where you're going, that can be very important. Culture is something that I want to emphasize, and from my perspective is perhaps also a very important component of a new startup, of a new ecosystem. Hire, as you're hiring in your organization, hire for trust, very important, and for speed. At the same time, and this may sound a little bit bold, but also fire quickly if the values and the culture are not a fit, right? You're building something, you are creating a culture. It's important that you hire for trust, because as you're growing small, trust is one of the most important assets. And it's not a very easy commodity that you can go and buy outside in the market. In the startups, culture travel faster than capital.
Oh, problem there also, sir.
Make sure that is the right one. I'm sorry, did I hear a question? Right. Yeah. Yeah, let me repeat this again because I think this is very important. And one of the things that if you get it right from the beginning, you're going to have the ability to run faster. The culture travels faster than capital and cash. And make sure, as you're building your culture from day one, make sure that is the right one. Right? Very, very important as you're building the beginning of an ecosystem. Let's go to the next one first. Strategy. Scaling, from my perspective, has different engines of different levers: distribution, technology, and partnerships, right? A D2C brand mastering one market before expanding, right? It's important that you master before you're running into the next level of growth. Tech startups, just repeating what you already are automating, just automating what is repeatable. And right now, I think the benefits and the beauty of AI is giving us the opportunities to automate even more. In some of the as I see it as an LP in a venture capital firm that supports startups between Latin America and Asia, it's exciting to see sometimes how some of the startups are already automating very, very fast. So those components that can replicate across many multiple geographies. I think you are living in a very great era that can give you a lot of benefits of that. Partnerships will open you new distribution channels. But it's also at the same time important that you align all those ecosystems and partnerships that align with your culture. A partnership can help you to scale, but also a partnership can block you from keeping growing in the future. The master founders, from my view, scale through collaboration, not competition at the start, right? Is one of the areas that sometimes, as I see it, as a mistake, scaling too fast and burning capex too fast could be a liability as you scale down the road. So as a founder, as a leader of a startup, is master the ability to collaborate across multiple ecosystems, because that's going to give you a leverage of your growth going forward. Let's go to the next one, please. Now, common pitfalls. Here is from what I believe breaks most of the founders. Chasing investors. If you're chasing investors, you're distracting yourself from scaling and building a business. Expanding too soon and ignoring compliance and controls. Right? Let me repeat again. Chasing investors, expanding too soon, and ignoring compliance. Right? One Southeast Asian company that I was very close to lost the IPO window just for a very simple fact: very weak data governance. Right? They were missing that window just because they did not have governance. Have someone in your team that, and give him or her the permission to play the devil advocate. As a startup and as any place where you see the company, you need the truth tellers. Those that are going to give you the ability to tell you the things as they are. You don't need only cheerleaders and people that just tell you yes. So just give them the permission that they have the ability to play the devil advocate. It's important as you're building, you want somebody to tell you things as they are and have the straight talk and the straight conversation, right? And that applies at any stage of a startup and in a big global multinational. Always you need the devil advocate. You not only need those people that agree and make your cheerleader for you. Let's go to the next one, please. Financial readiness. And as you're moving along, investors, of course, trust numbers. They look at the numbers, not only stories, right? Be investor ready from day one, right? And also you got to think as an investor. If you have your own money, put your funds in your company. You got to look at all those financial fundamentals. Keep your books clean. You don't need, again, let me reemphasize this. You don't need complex systems. You don't need very complicated controls, but you have to keep a set of books that are clean, understandable, and you have routine in developing financials on a regular basis. Forecasting your cash flow, right? Separate personal assets, compare your company and startup assets. And if you cannot explain your P&L in 60 seconds, please time yourself. You are not ready to raise money. You need to have the ability to explain your financials and your economics in 60 seconds. And this is real. Okay? Many of you are going to be knocking doors with many different investors, whether are angels, venture capital firms, big private equity corporations, banks, you name it. 60 seconds, you have to be able to explain your economics. And that will give you, number one, the clarity. You understand your business, you understand your economics, and it's going to give confidence for whoever you want to partner with. Please take that into consideration. That's one way. Advice that I learned in my journey. And even as we were raising an IPO and we were meeting with big banks of the names of Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan's, 60 seconds is the rule of thumb, right? You have to be able to explain the financials of a big corporation as Kenvue in 60 seconds of a small startup in any different venture that you are working with. Let's go with next, please. This is very important, credibility. I talk about trust and I talk about credibility. Regional, global investors look for credibility, not for size. Governance is going to be your secret weapon, right? Governance is going to be your secret weapon. Appoint investors and advisors, appoint advisors early. And I'm very pleased that here you have different partnerships that are going to be willing to mentor you, giving you advice, because that's very important. You need people that is going to be giving you advice early on. And appoint advisors early in your journey. Be transparent about the wins, but also about the misses. Don't be afraid to hide the misses. That will earn you votes and credibility, because they look at credibility. As an LP and eventually I'll tell you, it's credibility. It's not about the size. Also, look at your brand story. Why you exist, not what you sell. Why is your right and the reason why you're here for existence? Take example about Grab, build trust across borders because they communicated with consistency. Credibility can be your secret weapon and can be also your most important enemy if you don't do it right from day one. Let's go to the next one, please. And this is about all of you. This is all about you. And we are here having the opportunity to speak to some of the most important, most exciting leaders in the most important ecosystems in the world. Resilience is in your DNA. So from many of those exciting markets, emerging markets that are coming, or developed markets, is if you don't have it, build it. Learn yourself to be resilient. And scaling can be truly emotional. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Every growth stage requires and will require a new version of you. You are unique and you are where you are. But you're growing your startup, you gotta grow together with the startup. You have to be building a different stage of yourself at every single stage, right? So be open, build that resilience, and keep in mind that you're gonna need to grow at the same time that you grow your corporation, your company, your ecosystem. Because founders often burn out before the business does. That's a reality. Protect and manage your energy and delegate early, and learn how to delegate early on so you can focus on the key components that are going to help you to drive your business. And I was talking earlier on, referring not as culture, for example. Resilience is not about being tough. It's not about being tough. It's about adaptability. As I want all of you to go back to the picture that I was sharing at the beginning, the ship that you see the cloud and you cannot see anything. It's about adapting. If you're going to be moving in this new environment, you have to adapt yourself at every single stage of the evolution of your business. And if I was referring at the beginning that startups, unfortunately, many of them do not scale and fail, and they don't die because of lack of capital. They die because of lack of clarity. It's something that often happen, right? And I don't say that to discourage any of you. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that through this session, I can inject you a little bit of adrenaline and resilience and courage to move forward. But I want to I'm sharing the facts and the reality, and I hope that all this can help you as you grow forward, as you grow in your startup, right? Because me also, I'm not afraid to say I fail as we were scaling many multiple activities or supporting investors or also doing entrepreneurial activities in the big multinational companies. Failure is part of a journey. So learn to fail fast, be bold, and build that resilience on you. Let's go to the next one, please. Right? And I want to share this important. The CEO of this company, Mercado Libre, that is the Latin American Amazon, he sits in our investor committee in NEXTLEAP, that is a venture capital fund that I participate as an LP. So learning every time that we have the opportunity to sit in his corporate offices in Mexico City, it's important. It's quite fascinating because this company, early on, very, very small, back in 1999 in Argentina, that was in the middle of a big chaos. And they really built a massive now global champion with global scale that basically has adopted very interesting model in Latin America. Let me share some perspectives that I feel that can be useful to many of you. Nowadays is Latin America most valuable tech company. They started very small, as I was referring to in the beginning. It was just back in 1999, Argentina in a very complicated financial situation, back then. And what they did at the beginning, they just built its own payment and logistics systems. So the lesson here for them is don't wait for infrastructure. Build your own rails. And that's what they did. And that was perhaps the success as they started to move that forward. Is they created something that is called Mercado Pago. That was a payment ecosystem, and Mercado Envíos, that was the entire logistics, payments and logistics. They built that infrastructure at the beginning. They localized scale. They were building slowly, country by country. They went to the smaller markets. As they started at the beginning in Argentina, when they feel that they have an ecosystem, they went to the smaller markets. They didn't go after the big fish first. They went to smaller markets like Colombia, Venezuela, and they started small before going into bigger markets like Mexico or Brazil. They didn't wait, as they found, and they entered new markets. They found that the ecosystem was not there for them, and they did not wait. They built the infrastructure that they needed to continue their repeatable model every single time. Let's go to the next one, please. And something that I feel that it could be relevant, that can be replicated from this company, that can be relevant to many of you in many of the markets in this very exciting region in Asia Pacific, is control your ecosystem. You own it, control it. Don't depend on others. I mean, I talk about partnership, but don't depend on others for your core functions. use partnerships, but your core, that's what is very important, that you are able to explain your core and your financials in 60 seconds. Keep your core at the center of who you are. Don't outsource it. Control your ecosystem. Win one market first. One market. Build it in one market. I know that sometimes we spot opportunities everywhere. You may have that the tram of scaling fast is going to be in front of you. Win with one market first, then scale slowly regionally. That's going to give you that set of advantage. Adapt fast to regulations. I cannot stress this fast enough. Regulation is going to be changing faster than ever. Whether it's trade tariffs, where are many multiple changes across the markets given the geopolitical situation, just adapt fast and be on top of regulations. Use inclusion as a growth engine, right? Inclusion is very important, and I know many startups in India are using that. That's a massive opportunity. One of the legs of Mercado Libre is payments. They call it Mercado Pago. They onboarded and they brought to the banking system more than 50 million people early on, and that became a very strong asset for them. They supported some of the markets to bring people into the banking system. In our region, because I consider myself being in Asia, spending more than 18 years in this beautiful region, the next unicorn won't build just an app. It's not about building apps anymore, from my perspective. It's about an ecosystem, from my view. I think an ecosystem is going to give you that set of advantage. Don't just build a company, build something that can stand on its own 2 feet in any market. Those are some lessons that I found that could be very relevant for all of you. Can we move to the next page, please? I'm sure that you're going through your journeys, you're going through your struggles and wins. I would say keep dreaming big. Don't get discouraged, but execute bigger. It's not about cash or funding or chasing investors. It's about executing consistently and keep that going forward. Build for purpose, not for valuation. And let me repeat that again. Build for purpose, not for valuation. And I said that with a lot of intent, because sometimes as I speak with many entrepreneurs, they are looking at the valuation. They want to be the next $1 billion startup so they can have exit and they can have the cash. But if you don't execute, if you don't build with purpose, you're never going to get that valuation. And build teams. I talk about culture, and I'm going to emphasize that again. Build teams that tell you the truth. Things will not work sometimes along the way. That's a fact. That's a given. And that happens in any company, regardless of the size, either it's big or small. So as you're building that culture, build a team that have the courage to call it straight and tell you what's going on, whether you like it or not. And also focus on building those products that matter beyond borders. And being global doesn't mean being distant. It means being relevant everywhere. I hope that some of these thoughts and sessions and learnings that sometimes, through a lot of tears and sweat, can bring you that inspiration to keep going forward. And some of those lessons that you are going to get from advisors, mentors, please listen to them as they call it straight and they tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. because they will help you to build potentially the future ecosystems. And please be rest assured that all of you are in the most important, most beautiful, and more dynamic markets in the world. You have a lot of avenues, right? Human capital, cash at your disposal. But I hope that some of these lessons, at least some words, I hope that they stick in your head as you're building the ecosystem. With that, I want to thank you. I want to pause here and want to pass it back to Ayush so we can open for some conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco, for this presentation. I would now request all those who have questions, if you can raise your hands, we can open the floor for questions. And it will be good to get your questions cleared from Mr. Francisco. Let me just see.
Thank you.
Okay, we see one hand raised. Yes, Akash, I have promoted you as the panelist.
So to all those who are raising their hands, we will promote you as a panelist. Do accept that request. Once you accept that request, you would be able to come and ask your questions directly. The other way also for the participants, if you want to type your question in the chat, feel free to type. So either way, it would work. Over to you, Akash, from Enter Circles.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
How are you
Thank
doing?
you. Very well, very well. Thank you.
So I have a question like when scaling, should startup borrow some playbook from big institution or does that kill the startup DNA? Like what is the mindset difference between a startup who deals with innovations and the mindset between a big company?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that. Though. That is a very important but also a very tricky question. I would say when a big company already have a lot of very different assets and talent and activity and capital at your disposal. So the DNA can be very different, right? I will tell you very, very open, right? Sometimes in a big corporation, when there is sometimes a DNA or a philosophy that you have unlimited resources, right? The resources are there everywhere, and you build and develop your budget, and you say, okay, I'm just gonna go and fight for the budget because the resources can be unlimited. Sometimes the discipline, even though it's a big company, is not there, right? I think as many of you, I was lucky enough since I was very young. I grew up in a family business with my mom and dad. So very early on, I started working and helping the business when I was 8 years old and supporting. So learning the value of cash very early in the journey is important. Having the courage of distinguishing that trade-off between should I hire people or buy a new truck? Should I add a new product line or hire a new employee? Getting those fundamentals right from the beginning is important, whether you're big or small, irrespective, right? So, and it's very basic, right? So is be humble, because sometimes as you're going through banks, and whether it's the VC, the banks, the angel investors, right? It's a very different DNA. Depends where you want to raise capital. But I invite all of you, as you're building your DNA as a company, as you hire people, is they can come from big multinational, from business, big people, not from where they're coming from. They need to have the right fundamentals and how they're thinking about the business, right? As I said, cash is cash. And if you cannot find somebody to make a trade-off between, do I buy a truck or I hire 2 more employees? Sorry, you don't have DNA, right? I've seen many people from big companies, they have the DNA. but many don't as well. I've seen many entrepreneurs from small startups that they don't have that DNA, right? Because they feel they get a big check from a venture capital firm and they just keep burning cash. Is get your mindset and fundamentals right. Because you can have, if your intention is to hire talent from big multinationals, you can find it, but it's not the multinational. It's the right mindset of that individual, where he or she is coming from. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That helps. So personally, what you love, like 0 to 10 or 10 to 100?
Oh, well, it depends on the stage where you are. It depends on the stage where you are in your journey, right? Sometimes 0 to 10 is better than going more than 10, right? It depends where you are in the journey. And think about, I want to emphasize your story in 60 seconds. So for me to respond that answer, I will say, okay, tell me what your business is in 60 seconds. I can give you a better and informed answer. But first, land yourself. What is my business? What is my P&L in 60 seconds? You cannot explain it. You cannot go 0 to 10. So it depends where you are.
Okay, got it.
And keep going, right? Be resilient. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, hello, Francisco. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you.
Actually, what is what takeaway one should take out of the concept VUCA world?
That's VUCA. I love that concept, but I will say we're in a world of VUCA square, right? I think VUCA is becoming. That's what I put that picture to all of you, right? Whether you're multinational, everything, the world is like that. Back in the days, we have a crisis every 10 years, 15 years. That was the cycle. Right now, the tectonic shifts are going to be moving faster, right? And there is going to be a tectonic shift after one faster every year, every month, perhaps every 2 or 3 months, right? I'm not saying that to discourage all of you, because you have an advantage as an entrepreneur of a smaller company. Is bigger companies cannot move that fast. That's a fact. That's a fact. A big corporation with a big multinational company with more than 10,000 employees cannot move very fast in an environment of a VUCA that is moving or is changing trade tariffs tomorrow, blocking, distribution, Canal Suez shutdown, conflicts in many other different parts of the world, unfortunately, cannot move as fast, considering these massive tectonic shifts. That opens an important window of opportunity to many of you, right? So don't think it as a book is going to be on against me. I invite all of you to think about VUCA is going to be in my favor, helping me to open gaps where some of the big companies are not able to adjust. And I will say that for a fact, though, having worked recently or being part of some of the different in an FMCG organization of a scale of Kenvue, one of the things that I learned about that market, who's winning in that market is not the big multinationals anymore. If I give you now a spreadsheet of all the bigger ones, P&G, Colgate, you name it, whoever you are, who's winning in some spaces? The small startups that are bringing new tailored solutions for specific markets. Because why? Because they are understanding the customer faster, right? I'm saying that to all of you to encourage you, right? Is the VUCA square or VUCA is going to be super VUCA, whatever you want to call it, is here. Yes, if you take it as a threat, it's going to be a big threat for you. If you take it and think about an opportunity, a VUCA world is going to be opening gaps where you can take advantage of them.
Yeah, thank you. It helps me a lot. I have just, I would like to ask one more question. Can I consider that instead of a fixed cost based business model, in VUCA world, we should think for the variable cost based models?
Well, it depends on your business. It depends on your P&L and your proposition. Could be, but also at the same time, it is, again, going back, I was referring earlier to keep your core. Your core cannot be variable, right? Because if you keep your core as variable, and you hire or fire based on your variable of your core, then you don't have a core, right? So understand your business and keep your core, right? Keep your core of that and build it with the right team, with the right culture, right? And that's going to help you to scale. I think many of you, especially those that are in tech ecosystems, take advantage in areas where you can give it and use agents that make sure that the agents work, because I've been in many companies that just the agents, the AI agents don't work. So you can use it to outsource part of the ecosystem. I think we're living in a world that is not only about human capital, it's about also AI enablers that can help you to manage some parts of your ecosystem. But your core is your core. And if you are not very sure about your core, spend time now with your leadership team to understand all together and agree what the core is, because you got to keep it and remain intact and protected. So, because that's going to give you the ability to replicate your business model and to scale it going forward, right? And if you just cut it and adjust it because of the VUCA shocks, then you are compromising your business.
Perfect. Thank you. I
No,
appreciate
thanks to you. Thanks for the question. Thank you. Very good questions.
Thank you.
We have few questions in the chat box as well. We'll be taking those questions as soon as the raised hands are completed. So moving on, Kushal, can you please spotlight NutriLeaf's Shivam?
Yeah, let me do that.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead, NutriLeaf.
So we had Mr. Rajiv Walia.
Yes, sir. Actually,
Yeah,
sir, I
Rajiv,
wanted
you
to
may
just
please go ahead.
quickly, yeah. Actually, sir, I just wanted to quickly ask, actually, that I'm planning to opening, say, like CPA, like a guidance kind of thing, like, so I want to know, how do you differentiate? I really like the fact that you said that, tailor your solutions to specific markets. So can you give an example? Like, so I want to provide coaching to candidates from weak educational backgrounds so they can compete with chartered accountants by doing the CPA, so, but they need basics. So how would I, then build it for like Singapore, Dubai, or, maybe India, because there was always already number one, number two people there. So giving it as a practical example, how do you think I should advance my strategy, for that?
Okay, no, thank you. I think this question will require a little bit more analysis, because I would love to understand more
Just
of your
high level is
business. I
fine.
think
Just
would
high
be,
level.
but I think as any startup, right? In your case, is define your market first. Who's your market, right? And it can be, whether it's India, whether it's Dubai, or any other market, right? You can say, I'm developing this for India, but that is not a market. India is so big, right? I'm developing this for, I'm just going to quote this as an example. I'm developing this for tier 2 cities, consumer companies in India.
Okay.
Right. That is my advice at the beginnings. Define your market first, right? If you open too big too soon, then you become nowhere for anybody, right? So important to define who's your market first, because market, the temptation is like, this is for India. Yeah, but India is a market with multiple ecosystems. I would say that I would argue there are like 10 or 15 Indias in India, right? So you got to define that ecosystem first, and then from there, build a robust model, and then move forward.
I think you've nailed it with the fact you said Gordon, in one of his speeches recently, said build your tribe. So what he's saying is build your ecosystem, right? I mean, look for those outliers who really want your products, right? Not the normal, the outliers.
Oh, and I love the way you say it. Maybe I would use a very different words versus outlier, but what VUCA world is gonna open those, right? Those that you call outliers, right? Is gonna open focus, but stay on course also at the same time. Stay on course, because you cannot say, okay, VUCA is open this, now I'm gonna do this, and then no, there is an opportunity here, so I switch gears and do it there. Then you become no work for anybody, right? Stay on course and execute. I cannot stress that enough, right? You identify your market, execute, stick to it, execute.
Just one more question. At what point do you decide to pivot? Suppose, you have a strategy and, suddenly you realize that maybe the market is not reacting the way your sample size said it would, And at what time do you pivot, and then, at what point do you decide, execution would be in failure here, and,
I will switch the question a little bit from my perspective. Why the market is not reacting? Do you understand that well enough? If you understand that, if you can explain that very simple in 30 seconds, then you can pivot to whatever is the next ecosystem. But if you cannot understand why it's not reacting, I would encourage you to understand that first.
Okay. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thanks to all of you. Thanks for the question. Love the questions.
Mr. Shivam, we can't hear you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, now
we can hear you perfectly.
Yeah. So my question was that, like, when your startup is scaling up, so whether you should go with the asset light model versus with your own capital, because in one of your slides you have mentioned that some of the founders mainly focus on the top line, but the bottom line is also very much important. So what should be the strategy when the startup is scaling up? Asset light or with the on capital, because both the models have certain pros and cons. Like in the contracted model, like suppose you have given your things to other person, there are risks, versus your invested capital will be more if you go with your own capital.
Yeah, no, of course. And of course, that's always the chicken and the egg, and it's a very important question, but it's also a tricky question, right? Without understanding your financials, at least myself now, it will be very difficult to give you a very informed decision, right? But if you have, maybe just to speak broad at the beginning first, and I hope that they stick to it, if you have a good ecosystem, if you have your financials understood in one page, and you see markets reacting to it, go and scale. You're ready to scale. And don't be afraid of running through the capital. If you have the reputation in the team, you can go ahead and scale, right? Just going back to the example that I was putting with Mercado Libre, that's what they did, right? But after they have spent many years with many failures building the ecosystem, an ecosystem of payments and users that work. Payments and logistics that work, right? Because when you're building logistics, you need a lot of capital. It's not like very small cash, right? You gotta build an entire ecosystem. They were competing with the likes of Amazon at that time. But they work in the ecosystem first, and they went to small market and then to the tiny countries, Argentina, etc. When they felt confident, boom, they started and they scaled massively. It took them a while, quite a few years and quite a few trial and errors, but it's a tricky question, right? I would love to learn more about your business so I can give you a more informed advice, but it depends on your business model, in your ecosystem, and also in the ability of your team to scale. Also, you're gonna test the readiness of your team. Are they ready to scale? Yeah,
Thank
the
you so
point that I
much.
was saying, like the point that I was saying that you gotta evolve with your startup also is let's ensure that your team is ready to scale. It's not scaling for the sake of scaling. Is the team needs to be ready to scale as well. No, thanks to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Shivam, for asking the question. Now, moving on to the questions which are in the chat box. I read out the first question. This is from Dillian Pereira. He writes, a lot of founders and promoters prefer going the debt way by borrowing more and more. Sometimes others want to go the equity way, raising funds and dilute their stake. What, according to you, is a prudent way in the first 3 to 4 years of startup journey? Is it all about just being analytical of the numbers and taking the call? What is your view?
Yeah, no, thank you. You know, I through the and is I mean there is not just to be blunt here and very direct is there is not a golden formula, right? Because if there were a golden formula, we have a lot of successful startups. Right? There is not a golden formula. It depends on where you are in your journey. But one thing that I want to making sure that I want to go back is can you replicate your market without losing your essence? Do you have your team ready with the resilience that they're telling you things the way they are? Are you measuring the outcomes and you have very clear understanding of your economics and you can explain your financials? Build for scale, don't build for valuation. And one of the mistakes that I've seen often is that founders go and raising capital left, right, and center because they are looking at the valuation. They want to scale, and move into another market without having the essence right. So could be it depends, and also I've seen in other instances where they are diluting themselves over and over again, and they are bringing a lot of investors that are not culture fit for what you want to build, and sometimes it's not the market that is killing you; it's your investors that your suite of investors that you're attracting. They are killing you because they don't have the culture. Right? They don't have the DNA and intention. And be mindful and be very careful what you want to bring, right? If you're bringing people, investors, and you're inviting them, make sure that they understand and they are with you in the journey. They also have skin on the game. And they're not going to be asking you to give returns like the next day. If you understand your economics are going to bring returns a year from now, right? It's a very complicated question, but I hope these bullet points can give you some perspective to help you to scale in your journey.
Right. Thank you so much for that. There is one question which is, what is the normal startup fledgling or lead time before the founder calls it quits?
Wow, that's I don't have the statistics of all that, right? That would be actually quite interesting as maybe as an institute that, you know, as you are supporting many of these startups, maybe we can start run some statistics and see ourselves though. There are no statistics on that, right? The only statistic that, you know, that I shared at the beginning is that 90% fail, but they fail not because of lack of capital again, it's because of lack of resilience, or because they lack of understanding of the economics, or because they lack of not bringing the right team to work with them. That's a fact, right? It's sometimes the market is there, and oftentimes we've seen that a startup have a very big opportunity and they just gave up because of many different reasons. Since then, another company comes, startup sees the same ecosystem, they go and they run away with it, and they build something meaningful. Why? It's not cash, it's just resilience and grit.
Right. There is one question from Ganesh Panchal. many founders has cash burning culture. How to convince them to shift their focus from cash burning attitude to responsible founders?
Culture, right? And I will emphasize that again. And hire people that are aligned with your culture, right? Sometimes I've seen many founders that they're in the rush to scale, and they don't spend the time hiring the right fit of a company that is going to be with you. As a matter of fact, sometimes they delegate the hiring to somebody else, to somebody new. Your number one job as a founder, as a leader, as the head of a startup is ensuring that you have the right people in your startup, right? And I want to go back to the example that I shared of, I think many of us here work in very small businesses at the beginning of our career. Cash is the king. And if you cannot make a trade-off between buying a new truck and getting a new phone, then you don't have the right people on the boat, right? That level of discipline of the trade-offs needs to be with you. Nobody is going to be investing in cash burning machines. That's a fact, right? If you're raising money, you're paid your monthly bill or the monthly rent is not going to work. So get number one, I would say, make sure that you have the DNA before you're asking somebody else to have the DNA. If you don't have the DNA, let's get yourself into that DNA first, and then bring the people on board that can be working with you with that level of responsibility, right? It's important, right? You don't want to invest, you don't want to spend money that is not yours for something that is not helping you to build the ecosystem. You're on mute, Jenny.
So sorry. So there is one question from Ample Creatics, Satya Ranjan. How difficult is it for early stage startups to convince any idea without any early traction or POC or MVP?
If you cannot explain in 60 seconds, it's going to be impossible, right? If you can explain your business model in 60 seconds, if you can explain your economics and your P&L in 60 seconds, then get that first. If you do it right, if you understand it, you're going to be able to get funding. It's not about size. It's about credibility and being able to explain yourself in 60 seconds, irrespective of the size. If you cannot explain your business or what you're trying to do in 60 seconds, then even yourself don't understand your business. And it's going to be very difficult to get and attract any funds from anybody. Let's get that definition first. Once you get it, I can tell you that can be very easy to get and raise capital, right? But having all those fundamentals right.
Right. Thank you. That answers question for Mukesh Maheshwari also, who wanted you to throw some light on 60-second P&L. And
yeah, well,
yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Well, it's a 60-second P&L is can be very simple as what I was referring to, what is your reason to exist, right? Why you exist in this world, right? What are you bringing to the ecosystem? Number one, you got to be able how to exist. How do you generate revenue and where your cash is going? Simple as that, right? 60 seconds P&L. And by when you're going to get profitability and what is going to be your algorithm. Also, I would say one thing that I think is I did not put in the slides is like benchmark yourself against something, right? So sometimes you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You just want to make accessibility for something fast. Get the fundamentals of what your benchmark that you are trying to achieve or improve, right? I would be happy to share maybe a one pager after of what I would feel a good P&L I've seen. 60 seconds P&L, and even time yourself in the clock, right? Make sure that you do it in 60 seconds. No one more at all.
Right. Definitely. There is one question which says that is there, in your view, is there any AI startup with a pure proof of concept? at the moment? Are such companies fundable?
Well, I have not come across about any at this stage, Tom. I think the AI, I would say, is, in my view, sometimes it's a bit overused word. Everybody's telling you, I'm doing AI this, I'm doing AI this, I'm doing AI this. I would encourage you is more, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? AI is an enabler, right? But is what are the problems that you're trying to address? What is the market that you're trying to satisfy? I've seen in many founders that the word of AI is being overused. I standardize all this with AI. I do accounts receivables with AI. I can do all this with AI. Anybody can, even if if I have the time to do it, I can do it myself. But what is exactly the problem that you're trying to fix? What is your reasons of existence? I would say AI is here to help us all to automate many parts of the ecosystem, but focus on your business model more than AI. AI will be your enabler, right? You do this through AI, but focus on your ecosystem and your market that you're trying to serve.
Right. Definitely AI is here to enable, bring more efficiencies. Moving on, we have a question from AI, StratSync AI, Sandeep, who is asking what strategic and financial levers can we use to effectively plan for and respond to the heterogeneity of South Asian markets?
Well, that's a very important it's a very important question, but it's it depends. I think it depends what you're trying to solve in Southeast Asian market. Southeast Asian market is a very broad. We're talking about a lot of markets, and many markets have been very unique for many different reasons. I would say, what are you trying to focus on? What you're trying to solve first? And I'm just going back earlier on. Somebody was asking a question about India, right? And I was just putting the analogy: you gotta divide India into many multiple Indians. Is focus what are you trying to solve and address? Something that is replicable across Southeast Asian market. Am I trying to satisfy? I'm just gonna put this as an example. Single moms across Southeast Asian market to give you A, B, or C. That is your market. It's not Cambodia, Vietnam, Myanmar. It's not South Asia. It's this ecosystem in Southeast Asian market. So I invest the time to redefine your market, something that can travel across Southeast Asia that can be replicable. If you focus on the big market, like I'm going all this for all Southeast Asia, wow, potentially you can get lost.
Right. So with that, we have come to an end of the Q&A session. There is one last question from Sudarshan Rajeshwar. He has asked, bootstrapped funding from promoters normally hit roadblock and go to private placement or startup support organizations. This invariably results in curtailing innovation and bolder business decisions. What is your take on that?
I have a different perspective on that, though. I think is sometimes what I've seen is why the funding is curtailed is because the financials are not clear, the controls are not clear, the compliance is not clear, and again, the business model cannot be explained and replicable, right? I think is from my perspective, I think, and I encourage all the founders that we have here, spend here, and I think you have mentorship, take advantage of the next leap to ensure that they can help you to build those fundamentals right. If you do it right, you will not have any challenges raising funds. Be ready to knock doors. That's a fact. That's where resilience is important, right? You need to get ready and roll the sleeves and knock and pick up the phone and be ready to knock 1,000 doors. Build the resilience and grit early on. You will do it, but if you have that ready, you will not have problems. Somebody's going to open the door for you and fund it. I think there is availability of funding, maybe more than ever. is just sometimes is curtailed because the fundamentals are not right or not clearly understood.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation today.
Yeah, just one more question. From Dylan Pereira, a founder has a very unique idea and created a business plan and structure in a niche business in wellness service industry. To kickstart, he has no significant capital. However, he has investors willing to partake in the venture. Is there any standard norm for investor stake when he is called to finance such a good idea?
Mhm. There is no standard term. I think maybe it would be important to look at the unique of this, the specifics of your company, to give some advice, but there is no a template that can say do A, B, or C. I think it depends. It depends what you're trying to build. I don't want to give a light answer to that. It's a very important answer in the stage where you are. I think this requires a little bit more about more information and more deep diving to provide a better perspective.
Thank you so much, Francisco. And to all the attendees, please note that Mr. Francisco is here with NextLeap. You will get to interact over a period of time. Definitely, he is a mentor to the program, and he can be reached out either through ICAI Singapore Chapter, or you can reach out through BeyondSeed. And moving on, as we draw close to a session to the close, I would like to extend heartfelt thanks to our speaker, Francisco, for sparing his valuable time. Despite his tiring travels, I would also like to thank our partners BeyondSeed, ICAI India, and also CPA Australia for their support to the NextLeap. And of course, to each one of you for being part of this vibrant exchange. May today's insights spark new ideas, new ventures, and new collaboration across borders. That is the fundamental on which the next leap is established. Until next time, keep building, keep scaling, and keep dreaming global. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. We come to a close of the first session of the Next Leap mentoring program. Looking forward to see you all in the next session. Thank you. Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Good day.
Bye bye.